Here, and today we're gonna be doing another mock draft here. A lot's been changing prospect wise. A lot of them been rising, a lot have been falling here, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of big rumors. So we are going to get into it here, and yeah, let's just get into it here. First off, Carolina here, first overall pick, acquired from the Bears. They're looking quarterback, and here they're gonna take C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State. So yep. So that's the first overall pick. I think if developed well, Stroud will turn out to be a very good quarterback in this league. And then Carolina, they're looking for their face of the franchise, a quarterback. They get it there. Next up here, we have the Houston Texans. This easy. Bryce Young's their pick. They've been looking at this guy for 2 years now. They know they want to be the face of the franchise, and he is going to be their face of the franchise. Now, do I know if I think he's going to turn out well? Time will tell. I think he can turn into be a very serviceable quarterback, but I think a lot of the expectations some people have, he's never going to fulfill. He just doesn't have the talent there, but yeah. But next up here, we have the Arizona Cardinals, and a lot of movement here about this pick potentially getting traded. And I think on trade night, we're going to have, on draft night, we're going to have a trade. And I'm going to say right now that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to try to make a move here. And they're going to try it here with Arizona. So Arizona's going to trade their third for Las Vegas 7. And Las Vegas is also going to trade a third and a fourth. See, now they're going to trade. Let's see, what makes this work here? I'm going to make sure this works here, so. I think they're willing to trade a second as well. So there's a first and a second this year for the third overall pick. And they're going to trade up here. And what happens here in this pick with the Raiders, they're going to go quarterback, and they're going to go Anthony Richardson out of Florida. They have allegedly really liked what he's done. He had a very well visit with them allegedly last couple days ago. I think maybe last week it was. Had a very positive, meeting. Arizona's been looking to trade down for assets, and they do that right here as Las Vegas attempts to acquire their next quarterback after Dale Carr. But next up here, we have Indianapolis. Another quarterback's going to go here. Indianapolis is quarterback hungry here, and they're going to go Phil Levis right now with the fourth overall pick. He is going to go to Indianapolis. Also, same thing here with Levis. Indianapolis allegedly really likes what he's got, and I think I think originally they'd go Richardson, but if Las Vegas trading up for Richardson, I think Will Levis goes 4 here to Indianapolis because they don't really want a quarterback. They've been needing it for a long time, and they get it right there. But next up here, we have Seattle here with the 5th overall pick. They're looking for a face for the defense, like a nice young face here, and I'm going to say they go Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia. There's been a lot of character concerns about Carter, and last mock drafts I've had him bumped down a little bit due to that fact. However, I feel like a lot of teams are now just going to say they're just going to overlook it and stuff, and I think Seattle right here, they take a no-brainer pick. This guy's a generational talent, defensive line-wise. There's the concerns about the character, and I'll admit I do have those concerns as well. But he is undeniably a generational talent and can be a force on the defensive end for years to come. But next up here, we have Detroit, and here, they're also going to go with Ernest Russell here to complement Aiden Hutchinson here, and they are going to go with Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama. So he drops in this mock draft, not due to his talent. Honestly, I think he is the second most talented player in this draft, next to Jalen Carter. The problem is why he's falling is because a lot of teams are trading up to get quarterbacks because there's a lot of quarterback-hungry teams here. So you saw the first 4 picks, the top 4 quarterbacks, because the teams in the top 4, 3 of the 4 are going quarterback, and Arizona realizes that, and they decided to trade down and get more draft capital, which honestly, if you're Arizona, that's a very smart idea. So, and now we have Arizona's pick here. They are going to go in an interesting spot here. They are going to, I think, right here, they are going to go offensive line, and they're going to go Paris Johnson out of Ohio State. I know edge rusher is a definite spot they will look at, but you also have Kyler Moore got hurt pretty bad last year, and their offensive line is not the best. It's okay, but they do need someone big up there to protect Kyler Moore, especially when he comes back later this year. And I think Paris Johnson right there is the perfect pick for Arizona. They need someone to solidify that. They do have some interesting talent, young talent on the defense, so that's why I don't have them going defense right here. They had a blossoming star last year at edge rusher, young guy. I can't remember his name right now, but he actually had a great season, and I think they can definitely, like edge rushing won't be their best strength, but they have a great secondary, and I think they have very good linebackers too. And offense is a place, especially offensive line, that is a big need for them, in my opinion. So that's why I say they go with Paris Johnson with number 7 pick here. Like if Will Anderson was still there, they would go Will Anderson, but if he's not, I think they go offensive line. So that's why it's Paris Johnson out of Ohio State. Next up here we have Atlanta, and Atlanta here is going to go. What I think here is they're going to go offensive line. They're going to go Peter Skoronzik out of Northwestern. They're going to look to show up the O-line. I think they definitely believe they have something in Desmond Riddle. I'm not a big fan of him, but they think they have something. So right there, they are going to be willing to take an offensive tackle and try to protect him. And if not, that doesn't work, next year they can trade up for a quarterback or trade for one and have some nice protection for him. So I think I like that pick, Atlanta-wise. I know they have McCray back, and they have Lindstrom, but I think someone's gonna be the odd man out. They're looking for the future. They have a lot of interesting young pieces, and this is the kind of guy that I think if you're Atlanta, you really can't miss. But next up here, we have Chicago, and Chicago is in a very odd spot. They definitely could use something here, but they could also trade down here. And what I think happens here is they're going to trade down. And they are going to trade down for a team that allegedly, this is just from reports today that just came out, that allegedly there is one team that is right now looking at that 9 pick here, trying to trade up. And that team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Reports came out today saying they are looking at that. And I think what happens here is the Steelers decide to trade up in the draft here. And they are going to trade the 17th overall pick and their 3rd round pick here and a second next year. Actually, no, not a second next year. Let's see how this makes this work here. Alright, second this year. They're going to trade the second this year for the 9 pick here. And with this selection here, they have 2 interesting spots, cornerback and wide receiver they want to look at. And I think right here they're going to go Christian Gonzalez, the quarterback out of Oregon, as they trade up to that 9 pick here. And next up here for the Eagles, this is another interesting one. I think they could be willing to trade down here. I think definitely there's a lot of teams that be looking to trade down here. I think New England would be willing to trade up for a wide receiver here. And I think that's what they're going to do. Actually, no, not New England. Never mind. Like, there's a lot of areas I think they can look up here. I think Green Bay could possibly trade up. Chicago could trade up here. Back up. Detroit. But I think here with the Eagles, I think they may just decide to stay here and draft Bijan Robinson, the running back out of Texas. They really like what they see out of him. They need a running back after Miles Sanders has left for Carolina, and they get him right there. And with the next pick here, Tennessee, they were looking at quarterbacks, but they don't seem to like what there is. So what is going to happen here, I think, with this pick, is Tennessee is going to draft another edge rusher to help out and complement Jeffrey Simmons, and they're going to take Tyree Wilson, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech, here for that pick. Now, next up here, we have the Houston Texans, and with the Houston Texans here, this is something that gets interesting here. I think they take Quentin Johnston out of TCU as a weapon for Bryce Young. There's 3 guys here at first. Well, now it seems like it's not down to 2, Quentin Johnston and Smith-Njigba, as to who is the better fit there. And what it seems like to me here is it's Smith, that at least Houston, I think they're probably the ones who get the first wide receiver off the board. And what it seems like to me as of this point here, they like Johnston more than they like Smith Najigba, and I think that's who they take now. I think Smith Najigba technically is the better one, but I think they have a preference with Quinn Johnston. Here, so that's who they take at the 12, and they get Bryce Young a weapon now. But next up here we have the New York Jets at 13. And they're an interesting team here. A lot of interesting places they can go and move, honestly. But I think here, and this is going to be a little surprise here, I'm switching it up from what I have done before. But they are going to go here. They are going, I think, definitely pass rushing. They're not bad at. They have some interesting pieces. But I think they're going to go offensive line here. And there's been a lot of questions about Mikael Becton. And I'm going to say here they go Broderick Jones, the offensive tackle out of Georgia. They just had a lot of questions with Becton, and they may need a replacement. Honestly, Broderick Jones could be a pretty good replacement for him. And I think that's a good pick for New York Jets, because they're getting probably most likely to get Aaron Rodgers, but it's not going to cost a first-round pick. So they are going to decide to shore up the O-line to help out Aaron Rodgers there and protect him, because you got to protect him, I feel like. But next up here, we have the New England Patriots, and this is going to be an interesting pick here. I think they're going to go wide receiver, but I don't think it's Smith and Jigba. I think what they are going to do here, and this is a little crazy here, but the Patriots are known for doing this, and allegedly another report, this is another one just today, like when I say like there's been so many reports about prospects, and so many teams really liking them, they've came out. Today was one of the big ones. Allegedly, a lot of teams think Zay Flowers is the best one of the draft, wide receiver-wise. He's got a lot of great speed and can break away a lot, and the Patriots are allegedly very into him and are willing to take him at 14. And that's what they do at 14. Zay Flowers goes to New England. I think it's very high for him to be picked here, but I think that is what the actual pick will be. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting pick, but allegedly New England is very much interested in him and is willing to take him at 14 here. And I think it seems like that's what New England's preference is. There's other teams as well whose first preference wide receiver-wise is allegedly Zay Flowers. He's got a lot of great speed, so I do see where they're coming from. But I think the best one's Najigba. But it is very interesting that he is shooting up the boards, allegedly very highly. And it seems like he goes 14 here to New England, which is going to be very interesting. But next up here, we have the 15th overall pick here. And the Packers, they have a lot of just interesting holes. I don't know what you do here if you're the Packers. Defense is fine. Offensive line's fine, but you're not going to really... But quarterback's questionable. But what I do think here is... It's just an odd spot really they're in right now. And I don't think the cornerbacks, I would count out Witherspoon or Porter here. I would count that out. Edge Russell, I think, is unlikely as well. I do think it's wide receiver, and I think it's Smith Najigba. I think that is the 15th overall pick. I think that's where they go. And yeah, I think they need wide receiver. They've been needing wide receiver help for years. Christian Watson looks good, but the rest of them are pretty iffy there. They get themselves a bona fide number one wide receiver to help out Jordan Love, and we'll see how that works out. But next up here, we have the Washington Commanders, and they're going to take Devin Witherspoon right here out of Illinois. That is who they're taking with the pick right there. He is going to go there because he's falling a lot due to a lot of other teams' needs, and he falls right into Washington's lap. And now we got Chicago here, and Chicago is going to, I think, do something interesting. They're going to go edge rusher here, and then go Nolan Smith, the edge rusher out of Georgia. I really like him a lot. I think he has a lot of great talent and can really turn into something here. And I think overall, that's the perfect spot really for him to land. And I think Chicago can really develop him to a very good player. But next up here, we have Detroit. And with the Detroit here, I think they are going to, because they just traded one of their cornerbacks today. And Okuda, I think they're going to trade here. And they're going to get Jerry Porter Jr. out of Penn State. He is going to go at 18 to Detroit. I think that's his perfect land spot as of this point. But next up here, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers here. This is an interesting one. I do think there's a chance here. Because allegedly, I have been hearing that there was a couple teams here allegedly looking at quarterbacks here, and Tampa Bay allegedly would be one of them here. They've been looking at Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee a lot. Now, do I think that's the pick here? No. But I think Tampa Bay, instead, will be willing to trade down. So I think Tampa Bay right here trades down to a later pick and get some more draft capital here. So they're going to trade down here with, let's see, I'm trying to find here who has a later one here. So I think they're going to trade later first one. They're not going to lose their first one pick, but they're going to trade down to a later one here. And I think it's going to be Buffalo. They're going to be, because Buffalo, no, not Buffalo. No, I'm kidding. But that was a joke. Buffalo's not it. But I do think there was teams here that are willing to trade up, and I think one of them right here could be Jacksonville. So I'm going to go Jacksonville is a team that trades up. They're going to trade from 24 to 19, and they're going to trade a third-round pick as well with it. And with Jacksonville right here, they are going to go with a place they have a decent bit of need at here, and that is at the the offensive line here. They're going to go with Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle out of Tennessee. I think that's the pick right there. I think they're willing to trade up because they know they got to protect Trevor Lawrence. They're going to trade up here, and they're going to get some offensive line help at that point to help protect them. And now next up here we have Seattle. And Seattle here, interesting spot. I'm going to be honest here. They're not going to take wide receiver. I think that's out of the question here. But I think offensive line or edge rusher is. And I think edge rusher is the pick here. I think it's Miles Murphy, the edge rusher out of Clemson. They're trying to get some youth in that pass rushing core there. They get one Jalen Carter, and they get another compliment here, Miles Murphy out of Clemson with that pick. And now next up here we have the Chargers. And I think LA, they're going to go wide receiver or tight end here. So I think here right now there's a lot of teams really high on him. And I think it's Jalen Hyatt. I think he is going to go at that pick to the Chargers. A lot of teams really like Hyatt, another guy who's been rising big. And I think he is going to go at 21 now to the Chargers. And now next up here at 22 for the Ravens. Wide receiver Odell Beckham has pretty much, I think they feel like they've addressed that of Odell Beckham now. So I don't think they go wide receiver here. But they do have a big hole in Calais Campbell. And I think right here they're going to go Khalid Kancey out of Pitt, the defensive lineman. This guy's got a lot of great talent, trust me, as a Pitt fan. This guy's going to end up being very good, and I hate putting him with the Ravens as a Steelers fan. But I think that's the perfect pick for Baltimore at that spot. Because they need some... They need some, youth in the pass rushing there. They have one in Oweh, but losing Calais Campbell's a big hit. But Khalid Kancey can help fill that hole. Like, not to the point where, it's completely replaced, but, to a point, that this year, it's not as big of a loss as it has been this year. But I do think he develops into actually a Calais Campbell type player. I think that is his ceiling. So I think he's the perfect fit for Baltimore, right there at 22. And next up here we have Minnesota, and Minnesota here they're interesting, but I think here they've had some defensive issues, and I think they need some definite help in the secondary here. And I think they're gonna go cornerback here, and they're gonna go Deontay Banks. They need help there, and that's where they go to get it. And now next up here, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers here, I had them trained down. But I think at 24 here, they are going to be willing to push the button here and draft Hendon Hooker, the quarterback out of Tennessee. I think they're looking for the face of the future. Baker is mostly like a temporary one to help hold here. But a lot of teams really like Hendon Hooker. And I think I did see Tampa Bay was one of those teams. They trade down a little bit to get some more draft capital and then pick him. And I think right there's a spot here. because allegedly there were some teams early in the second round looking at him. So they, trade down a little bit, get some more draft capital, and then they draft their guy, Hendon Hooker, at 24. But next up here, we have the Giants, and wide receiver is a spot they've looked at here. And I think it is an interesting spot to address. But there are also some other interesting spots that they may want to address as well. I know definitely, just looking at what really is there wide receiver wise, I don't know what exactly they do on that front. Because Jordan Addison could be a pick there. I do see that being a definite possibility. But they're also really high on Hyatt. But they do have some holes defensively I think they need to fix here. Not really edge rushing wise, but more, I think, linebacker has been an area where there have been a little bit of questions. But I think definitely cornerbacks an area. And I think here, the offense did perfectly fine last year with not many wide receivers. And they have definitely added on to it, I feel like. They're in a better position offensively than what last year. But defensively, cornerback's been an issue. And I think cornerback's where they go here. I think they're going to go Cam Smith out of South Carolina here. I know a lot of people think it would be Addison right there, and that's the obvious pick. But there's a lot of concerns enough Addison. He has not done well pre-draft wise, and it's been interesting. But yeah, I don't think that's what happens there. I think they're gonna go cornerback. They need some help there. They get themselves some help. And now with Dallas here, another interesting spot here. I think they're gonna go tight end here with Michael Mayo at 26 there. They need a good tight end, and they're definitely looking for new offensive weapons for Dak. That's one right there where they can go out and they can get them. But yeah, next up here we have Buffalo. And Buffalo here, what they're going to do here, I think, is they're going to be willing to most likely, I think, invest in the O-line here and try to get some help for Josh Allen, offensive line-wise. And I think right here, the pick is going to most likely be O'Cyrus Torrence. They need some help offensive line-wise. Specifically, there's been a lot of questions right now surfacing on that front and also linebacking front. But I don't really think there's much linebacking-wise they want to take at this specific pick. I think later in the draft they'll address that. But O-line, definitely, especially if you watch that Bengals game, it seemed, at least to me, like it was an issue. And it's one they got to fix because they have Super Bowl aspirations, and right now it's do or die. And I think O-line's a place they need help. I think right here they can go and they can get that help. So I think that's the pick there that they should go with here. But next up here we have Cincinnati. At Cincinnati here, they are allegedly having some running back troubles here from Joe Mixon. I think here they're going to draft a replacement Jahmyr Gibbs. I think there's a lot of great talent of Gibbs. A lot of people really like him. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm one of those guys. I like the talent Gibbs has. And there's a lot of this concern right now of Joe Mixon and what happens there. And I think that is what the main pick is going to be right there, is they're going to address that issue there. They could also have taken care of the safety issue there, but they're a very offensively minded team, and if Joe Mixon's a definite concern, just on and off the field wise, Jahmyr Gibbs right there was the best pick, and I think that's where they go. But next up here we have New Orleans here. And New Orleans here of this pick, this is going to be interesting here. A lot of places they can go. But what I do think is, I think they go defensive line. I think they go Brian Brees out of Clemson. I think they're looking for some help there. That is where they get it. And now, Philly right here, I think they are willing here to trade down. And I think this is going to be interesting here. But I do think there's a team that's willing to trade up here one spot to get someone here. And I think that team is Pittsburgh. They are definitely willing to trade up here, and I think they're going to just trade one spot here. I think they're going to trade in the 7th. I think they're going to trade up here, and I think they're going to address an issue here that is the wide receiver issue. I think they're willing to make a trade here, and I think with this pick here, just trading up 2 spots, I think they are willing to make a move, and I think that move, honestly, here, is Jordan Addison, the wide receiver of USC. He's going to drop immensely. I think he's going to end up being a second-round pick now. But I think Kansas City definitely could have their eye on them. I think the Steelers definitely have their eye on Addison. And I think an idea of just trading up just a little bit here, 2 spots, because Philly's willing to trade down, and I think, because Philly has, I think, at that pick, they have their eyes set on the guy who's going to most likely be there. And I think they're willing to trade down just like 2 spots and let the Steelers come up and get Addison. But I think here, the 31st pick here, Kansas City, what they're going to do here is, I think here, Kansas City, they're looking a lot of places, but I think the most part here is they're going to look offensive line, now losing Orlando Brown, and they're going to go Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma here with that pick. And now for the 32nd overall pick here, Philadelphia is going to fix the edge rushing situation here and go Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa. Because he dropped a decent bit. He's a perfect pick there when Philly just takes him. And next up here we have Houston here, the second round. So we're going to do the second round, but we're not going to do the third here. But Houston here with this pick, another offensive weapon here. They're going to go Darnell Washington out of Georgia. Here with the Cardinals here, this is an interesting spot, but I think they're going to go edge rusher here, and they're going to go with Will McDonald, the 4th out of Iowa State. Indianapolis here, another interesting spot. I think cornerbacks an area they're going to look at. And then they go Emmanuel Forbes, the cornerback out of Mississippi State right there. And now next up we have the Rams here, and with the LA Rams, I'm going to say right now, they are going to look at cornerback talent here, and I think what they go for is Keely Ringo out of Georgia. I think that is the Rams pick right there. Next up here we have Seattle. Seattle's pick here is going to be interesting, but what I think here is it could possibly be into offensive line, and I think what it's going to be here, let's check here, see who else is available there. I think it's actually Steve Avila. He's been shooting up the boards as of recently. And I think he is the possible pick at that spot. But next up here we have the Cardinals. I think here they're going to address a little more defensive line here. And they're going to go Mazie Smith out of Michigan. I think that's the pick there. Carolina, with their pick right here, I think they're going to go for another offensive tackle and Dwayne Jones, get a teammate from C.J. Stroud to help defend and, protect them there. And I think that's the perfect pick if you're Carolina right there to do. Next up here we have New Orleans, of their second-round pick here. And what I think they do, I think they go safety here. They're looking for some help and young talent there. And I'm going to go Brian Branch out of Alabama. I think that is the pick. New Orleans right there. But next up here we have Tennessee. This is a team looking to fix up their whole situation defensively. I think Drew Sanders out of Arkansas is their pick right there. He's another guy who can pass rush very well. I'm actually very high on Drew Sanders as well, but a lot of teams right now just are kind of undervaluing him, I feel like. But I feel like he can be a very good pass rusher. I think he can be what the Titans thought they were going to get out of Bud Dupree when they signed him. I think Drew Sanders can literally turn into that and actually be like what they thought they were getting, and can be a big help to Tennessee defensively. But next up here we have the New York Jets. Here with this pick, it's an interesting one, but I think they're going to go a tight end here, and they're going to go Dalton Kincaid. I think that actually is their pick. They're looking for some offensive weapons that give them some help there, because tight end has been an area they have been looking to improve at, and I think that is one of them here. But also next up here, once again, we have, I guess they're apparently picking again. I didn't realize that back-to-back ones. But I think O-line actually could be one here. Another one, just address that. And I think John Michael Schmitz as he is a center. I think he is a good pick right there for them to look at. Because I think the main thing the Jets are going to do this offseason is build the trenches offensively for Aaron Rodgers, and then also try to address a little bit, get a little more defensive help. I think that's their main goals here, and I think that's something they've been trying to do here. But now with Atlanta here, with this pick, I think they're going to go with some edge rushers and try to develop one in B.J. O'Hare. I think that's how you say his name. But they're going to take a guy here and try to develop some more edge rushing talent there to help out Atlanta because they do have Calais Campbell here now. They're trying to get a good pass rush here. And I think he is a guy who, if developed correctly, can be a big help to that. But next up here, we have Green Bay. And what I think Green Bay does here is they are going to look at tight end here. And I think they're going to go Sam Laporta out of Iowa. Tight end is an area they need to address. I think that's an area that they do address here. And now next up, we have the Patriots. And the Patriots here, I'll be honest here, I think what they address here, in the most part here, I don't think they go up a cornerback here. But what I do think is they're willing to look at safety, and they're willing to probably reach a little bit here. And I think they're going to reach and go Antonio Johnson out of Texas A&M. Because they need help pretty badly in the secondary as well as wide receiver. And I think safety is the one area where they really need the help. And I think that's where they go there. But next up here we have Washington. Of their pick here. They don't really need defensive help, but they need some offensive weapons here. And what I think offensively, what they do here, now this is an interesting one here. But let's see, where is he at? I'm trying to find him here. Let's see. Well, Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to think here, like who all really fits here. This is kind of a confusing one because they do need some cornerbacks, but they also need some other things too. But I think here, actually linebacker was an area here, and I think they can get Jack Campbell here actually because they did just lose Cole Holmgren, who was their big linebacker next to Davis here. I think Campbell can definitely fit that hole. I think he's probably the best middle linebacker in this draft. So they get some help right there. But next up here we have the Lions, and with this pick here, there's nothing really quarterback wise I think they go after. I think they're gonna actually stay with Jared Goff here. But what I do think of this pick is they can look offensive line and they can look a linebacker. And I think they're gonna go linebacker here. Actually, no, they're gonna go linebacker later. Because I think there's some better quality here. Let's see, tight ends. No, I forgot they need a tight end. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Luke Musgrave out of Iowa State. I think that's actually probably the better pick. And I don't know how much to the icons here, but they lost the icons. Alright. Chicago here have their pick here. I think they're gonna go here, definitely get some help here, I think, offensively this time. And they're going to go here, the running back, Jack Charbonnet out of UCLA. I think they're definitely looking for some running back help there, and that's what they do with that pick. Next up here, Buccaneers need offensive line. I'm going to say, especially interior-wise, Cody Martz out of North Dakota State's the pick right there. Next up here, the Miami Dolphins. They need a running back, and they kind of need one bad here. And I think Devin Arcane is the pick right there for the Miami Dolphins. But next up here, we have Seattle. They've really been addressing O-line and edge rushing in this draft. And I think here what they do, I don't think they go wide receiver. I know this thing is suggesting wide receiver, but I don't think it is. I think what here is possibly is another interior lineman in Joe Tippum out of Wisconsin. I think that's where they go next. Continue to build a better line for Geno Smith here, because they do really believe in Geno Smith, and the offense could be something special with some help on the offensive line, and I think that's a perfect pick right there. Next up here, Chicago again. Chicago, another interesting one, but I think defensive line is where they look here, and I think D-line wise, actually, Cano Benton out of Wisconsin, actually, I think that's a good pick right there. I think that actually is a good pick, so the suggestion was right that time. Actually, I think that was a good pick. Next up here, we have the Chargers here. Their pick here, and their pick, I'm going to say they are going to go, I think they're going to go cornerback here. I'm going to go DJ Turner out of Michigan. I think that's their pick. But next up here, we have the Detroit Lions, who have had a great draft so far, and they are going to continue it here, as they are going to, right here, I'm going to say here they're going to go with a defensive lineman here in Tuli Tuputolu out of USC. I really like this guy. I think he's got a lot of great talent. And I think they want to continue to develop the D-line there, and that is what they do. But next up here with Jacksonville. They need some help edge rushing-wise, and I think they're going to go Felix Uzomah out of Kansas State to try to see if they can get some help from the edge rushers there. But next up here, we have the Giants. Once again, I think here they're going to go Josh Downs out of North Carolina. I think that's the pick right there. So I'm going to go with that. Dallas here with their next pick. I'm going to say here, Dallas looking for some help on, the off cornerback-wise. I think that's where they look here. I think they're going to go Clark Phillips, the third out of Utah. But next up here, we have Buffalo. Once again, I think here they're going to fill the linebacking hole here with Trenton Simpson out of Clemson. I think that's the pick right there for Buffalo because they're trying to fix that little hole. But next up here, we have Cincinnati here. And with Cincinnati's pick, they are going to go here. I think if they did lose Eli Apple this offseason, and I'm not sure really safety-wise they want to reach here. So I think they're going to go Julius Brents out of Kansas State here as a pick. Next up here, Chicago. Where they go here is going to be interesting, but I think they're going to go. What do I have here? I think Isaiah Foskey out of Notre Dame's a good pick here for Chicago. I think that's an area they look at. But next up here we have Philadelphia. They want some edge talent here, and they're going to go Umdukwe Bakewar out of Northwestern. See if they can develop this guy for a year, see if he turns out anything special. And I'm also here, no edge rusher here with Kansas City. They need some young talent there. They want to continue to develop. After they got flawless last year, they want to continue to develop. I think Keon White out of Georgia Tech's a perfect pick right there for them. And now with Chicago here, with the, let's see here, Chicago. This is the last pick of the second round here. And what time is it? Yeah. Yes, I'm only going to do this. I'm going to finish off here with this last pick. And I think with the last pick here, what they do is they, I think, look in the direction of some help cornerback-wise, and then go Tyreek Stevenson out of Florida. So that's going to pretty much do it here for this Mock Draft 3.0. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please comment, like, and subscribe. And tune in for more NFL, MLB, NHL, and NBA news. And we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.